a digital nomad sustainable? What about when we think about the impact on local communities, the planet? Is this a lifestyle that is really good for the world? My name's Naluka Kavanagh, and thank you so much for joining me. I am a digital nomad and I have lived in 7 cities and counting. At the time of recording this, I'm in Koh Samui, Thailand. I actually arrived just yesterday, so if I look a little bit tired, well, you know why, but I'm really enjoying it, and my apartment here is absolutely amazing, as you can see. So I really wanted to discuss this topic today because it's been something that has been playing on my mind a little bit lately, and it came up in conversation when I was being interviewed. Now, if you haven't followed me for a while or you don't know me, then my area that I focus in on is online business, digital entrepreneurship, helping people start and monetize their skills online. Why? To gain remote freedom and to be able to work from anywhere, because this is something that I've done in my career, and it's something that I am now so passionate about, and something that I want to help other people do. But there's a big but in all this. Is all the traveling that comes with being a digital nomad good? Is being in these local cultures as an expat good? Well, there are 3 things that I think we can all do to make being a digital nomad much more sustainable. And in this video, I want to talk through the 3 things I try to do to make sure that I lead this lifestyle as well as I can, and that the impact, any negative impact, is reduced as much as it can be. So the first tip or thing that I think is key to do if you are following this lifestyle is to be aware of the local culture. So what do I mean by that? Surely you're thinking, well, obviously, Naluka, but it's much easier said than done. Let's say you're in a beautiful city. Let's take Porto, for example, in Portugal. If you rock up at a lovely, quaint cafe that's really for families and maybe some of the elderly people in that area with your laptop and your Starbucks, and you start typing away, or you're on calls, doesn't matter whether you've got headphones or not, you're on calls, I don't think you're being that aware of the local community, of the local culture, and being respectful. Instead, finding a cafe that is built and set up for digital nomads or remote workers would be much better. That's just one example. It's about being self-aware and thinking about, is the impact of me working here or being here negatively impacting the local community? Am I being self-aware? Am I being present and thinking about the local culture? So that's a great example I just gave. Another example might be, it's not that different to say if you were visiting, so here I am in Thailand, right? When I go to the temples, I'm not just going to rock up in my shorts being super disrespectful. I do my research in advance and I make sure that I am dressed in a way that is appropriate for the Buddhist temples here. It's this self-awareness that I am referring to. As a digital nomad, you cannot go to local cultures, to local communities, to places abroad and just think, well, I'm going to continue living the way I did back home, because chances are you will have to adapt. And so think about, when you're working, where are you working? Are you having a negative influence on people who just want to go to a cafe and chill and have a coffee and not see you there working? Are you being respectful of the local traditions, of the local cultures? Have you done your research in advance? All of this will help you be much better in terms of your impact on those around you. The second tip I have is moving from people and local communities to thinking now about the planet. Now, I did get asked this question before. You fly a lot, you travel a lot. What are you doing in terms of helping the environment? And I think that is such a fair challenge. Now, To be clear, I would say that I'm a little bit more of a slowmad than a nomad. I don't just spend a couple of weeks in one place and then fly again in a few weeks and then fly again, etc. I tend to spend at least 3 months in one place. And I think that helps in terms of reducing the amount of travel you do. And think about it. If you are someone who is commuting to work and you're driving your car there and back every day, well, that's not great for the environment either. As a digital nomad, I don't have any commuting and my emissions in that way are much lower. But nonetheless, the point still stands. So what can you do? The first thing is to think about eco-friendly flights and accommodation. So when booking your flights, you can look for flights that reduce or have lower CO2 emissions. They are usually marked on Skyscanner as CO2 emissions low or something like that. You can also look for accommodation that has a green certificate, and particularly if you are looking on Airbnb or wherever you might be looking, if you contact the host and ask them about a green certificate or ask them what are their energy rating, those sorts of questions, you can find out if the accommodation you're staying in is better for the environment than, say, another type of accommodation. So those small things you can do can make a really big difference. The second thing that you can do when it comes to being eco-friendly is think about the transport in the area you're in. So like I said, I'm in Koh Samui at the moment, and I am choosing to walk more and cycle rather than use the motorbikes here. Now, motorbikes are very, very common, but if you do want to reduce your footprint, then that is a great thing to do. Equally, no matter where you are, when I was in Valencia, I did the same. I walked everywhere. When I was in Lisbon, I did similar. Now, of course, if you're in a city that is really hard to navigate because you need to use public transport or any type of transport and you need a car or you need a motorbike, then that's different. But where possible, walk if you can, or cycle, and think about how you can be more sustainable in terms of getting around. And also think about where you're located, because linked to that, my co-working space here is a 10-minute walk, my gym is a 6-minute walk, the supermarket is a 6-minute walk, and I've made sure that I'm positioned much more central than if I was somewhere further away, and then I would have to use taxis all the time or motorbike or whatever it might be to get around. So these small hacks are a great thing to do. And of course there are other things like what travel materials are you taking with you? Are you choosing materials that are better for the environment? All the things that are applicable whether you are or aren't a digital nomad. So, you know, do you recycle? What type of clothes do you use? All of this stuff can really help as well. So, it's getting a little bit windy here. So that's something to think about in terms of your footprint. Third tip I have is support the local economy where you can. So what do I mean by this? What I mean is, where possible, you should try and buy from local businesses or local markets. So to give you a great example, here in Thailand, there are the fresh food markets and the night markets. And this is where local people are doing their best to sell their produce, their materials, their clothes, whatever it might be. Buying from there is me supporting the economy and supporting local people much more than if I went to a super fancy restaurant that's like made by expats here and is charging so much more. I wouldn't be supporting the local people as much there. So think about where you're spending money, and where possible, try to choose your local businesses, your local vendors, the small businesses as much as possible, the small restaurants, the small cafes as much as possible, rather than these industrialized big chains, which also tend to be more expensive, but may not be supporting the local people and the local economy as much. So those are my 3 tips. I'm really curious to know, does anyone else have any other tips here for being more sustainable as a digital nomad, for having a lower impact on the people and planets? Then do let me know. I think this is an incredible lifestyle, and I think that it does not have to be disrespectful to the local community. Of course, if you are, like I say, rocking up with your Starbucks coffee in a local cafe where people just want to relax, that's a very different story. If you are flying across the world every 3 weeks, that is a different story. Be conscious of how much you are traveling. Be conscious of the transport that you are using. And then you can be much more sustainable, and you can lower your impact on people, in terms of the local community, as well as the planet. But let me know if you have any other tips that you would recommend. What else can you do to be sustainable as a digital nomad? And if you like this video, please do like and subscribe. Like I say, I am in the digital entrepreneurship space, so if you are interested in that space, you are wanting to start an online business and also follow this lifestyle of remote location freedom, then do get in touch. I'm on LinkedIn, or you can comment below. I'd love to hear from you.